2021. It is 6:16 p.m. We are in council chambers. 4 items on the agenda tonight. First of which is a event application for the Shriners Turkey Run. Paul, if you want to tell us about this one.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. This is an annual event that kind of takes place around the fairgrounds. It's on Thanksgiving morning. It's a 5K run walk event. They really utilize County Road 45, Thesey Drive, Southeast 11th, Southeast 10th, Wright Street, and Thesey Road. They never request any street closures just because the traffic that morning is very, very light in general. And so, talk to the PD, the police department. They never had any issues with this event. They have some slight amplified sound down at the fairgrounds, but that typically doesn't bother anyone. So this event's been very successful and no real issues in the past. So staff is just recommending approval.
All right. Any discussion? Okay.
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any more discussion? Hearing none, we'll go to a vote. All in favor? Aye. Motion passes. Item number 2 is another event street closure application for the St. Francis School Marathon. Very healthy city here. Lots of marathon runners.
And no open streets.
And no open streets. Go ahead and fill us in on this one, Paul.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. So another event application for a marathon more stemmed towards our young students. This one is around St. Francis School. They usually close the basically the 4 blocks around the school. So Juniper, Kingwood, and I think 9th and 10th. Like I said before, this event also one of those ones that happens every year. They're really good at it. They go notify all the residents that they'll be closing the streets. Most of the residences around there still have alleys to access properties while the event's going on. So we sent this around to staff once again, and we recommend approval under the conditions that they do notify the adjacent businesses and residences. Like I said, haven't had any issues with that in the past. Make sure that all their signs and banners are removed after the event, and to make sure they submit their insurance certificate per the permit requirement before the event takes place.
Okay.
Question, closure would be then the same times there, 8:30 to 12:30?
Yeah, they usually close it like a half an hour beforehand, and it usually opened up right about 1 o'clock.
Okay. Move to approve.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any more discussion? Hearing none, go to a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. Now we are on to item number 3, which is a discussion of the Downtown Special Services and Snow Removal District. I have understanding that you have something that you would like to go through, Paul?
Yeah, yep. So a couple weeks ago, we had a meeting with some of the downtown businesses that they really wanted to take a look at how we do our downtown special services district, which includes not only the snow plowing with a private contractor, but it also includes what David does through his department, which includes the flowers, the landscaping, the person taking care of it, and the watering and the garbage removal. So this has been around for a while, and it was a good exercise to go through and kind of really take a deep dive on what there's a pretty intricate breakdown on how we distribute costs, especially with the snow removal. And so it was very beneficial for us to go through it all. And I'll run you through kind of what we went through with the one business owner, Lois Hensel. I think she's probably online tonight. She was the one that brought this up, and we had 2 other businesses stop by that just wanted to hear what this is all about and how it kind of came to fruition. And at the end, I guess we can have some discussion and maybe hear what Lois has to say, and then from there, leave it up to you guys on how you want to move forward. So.
Yes, that sounds great.
Okay, so Sean, do you want to give me presenter? All right, so the first thing I have attached in your packet is the original ordinance that basically established the district. And it basically goes over what we're doing, sidewalk snow removal assessment district and the street snow removal assessment district. There was a slight modification in the Ordinance 918, which basically designated that sidewalk snow removal would be 100% assessable costs, because that is a service that every other business or resident does on their own. The downtown district, the contractor does do that, so it is assessed 100% to the adjacent properties. The street assessments is basically, it kind of outlined that, and that it's the difference between the contracted cost of removing snow from the streets minus the, what it would take the city forces to do so. So that's the amount we're assessing. So getting into the information I put together. So, I worked with David on this a little bit. David did attend the meeting with us. I'm gonna kind of go over why why the district was created, what its purpose was now, and I believe, and then it was also the same. How we distribute costs, what historic costs have been. Really, the snow removal side is very dependent on snowfall, and so property owners see bigger bills some years when we have higher snow events. And there has been some fluctuation also in the other special services like the landscaping, the flowers, and the garbage removal over the years. So like I said before, up on the screen, what is the Special Services District? It takes care of our snow removal and the other special services that we provide downtown, which is the landscaping and garbage removal. We'll go over what the purpose is, how we allocate costs, what we've been hearing from Lois especially, and then basically we'll just get to a conclusion and kind of where you guys want to go. So like I said, it was established by Ordinance 884 and amended with Ordinance 918. Sidewalk snow removal is assessed 100% to adjacent properties. Street snow removal is basically calculated as the difference between the contracted cost to remove snow minus the cost for the city forces to remove it. The district consists of Laurel Street from 6th to 8th, 7th from Maple to Front, and Front Street 6th to 8th. It also includes the downtown parking lots of Laurel Street, the Burlington Northern Lot, and the Front and 7th Street Lot. It includes all the downtown alleys, and it includes all the sidewalks adjacent to the streets within the district. So this was kind of a property or business-driven district. It was created after downtown businesses at the time wanted a higher level of service for snow events than the city would typically provide others in commercial or residential areas. Just as a note, the contractor typically doesn't get called in downtown unless there's 4 or more inches of snow. So when we have the 2 to 3 inch snow events, we typically just plow it to the middle or plow it to the side depending on how much there is and pick it up as we would anywhere else. That cost is not assessed. That's just part of our normal snow removal operations. So this is just basically for 4 inches or more. And that's how the contractor bids on this service. He has a base bid of 4 inches for both streets, alleys, and parking lots, and then he has a 4-inch base bid for sidewalks, and then he has each additional inch item. So if there was 6 inches, he would have receive the 4-inch base bid plus 2 additional 1-inch off of his bid. The Special Services District was created to pay for the cost of downtown landscaping and maintenance and garbage pickup in the receptacles. So the landscaping and cleanup used to be contracted out completely to outside entities. We used to have a contractor that worked downtown and helped us with the landscaping and sweeping up cigarette butts, keeping the sidewalks and stuff clean. Recent years, David has made some changes where it's led to city hiring a downtown maintenance temporary employee and simply purchasing the flowers for the urns and the hanging baskets and the light poles ourselves to try to lower some of the costs. Like I said before, this was requested to try to help beautify downtown. A lot of businesses kind of take their little planters in front of their businesses and kind of take them under their own wing and do the maintenance themselves on them, which helps us out inevitably. We plant the urns, we try to keep the flower beds weeded out and things like that, but a lot of them go over and above what we do, which obviously helps everyone. This next slide is basically the historical cost back to 2000 of the district. So you can see the overall costs really fluctuate based on the amount of snow we get, but the average cost per inch has steadily increased over time from a 2001 cost per inch of about $750 to a 2020 to 2021 cost of about $1,688 per inch of snow for removal. And that's for everything: streets, sidewalks, alleys, and parking lots. But you can see, based on the total costs, those property owners are getting assessed more in certain years because of the overall snow amounts. And this, just a reminder, this is only the events 4 inches or more. So there are other events that happen outside of these, like for example, the 33.5 inches for 2000, 2001. There were other snow events that were less than 4 inches that aren't taken into account. This is just invoiced snow. This kind of gets into the weeds, but it helps to try to paint a picture of how we assess. So the first thing we do when we get an invoice or when we come to an assessment process is we break out each improvement by the area. So of the 100% area of downtown of streets, sidewalks, alleys, and parking lots, streets consist of about 50%, 50.34%. Alleys consist of about 14.3%, and parking consists of about 35%. So of that total cost, we multiply the invoiced amount by those first. With the sidewalks, since they're 100% assessed, those are treated completely differently. So of those percentages of each improvement, based on the calculations that my predecessor performed, the city would pay 46.58% of that. And I'll get to how we recalculated the number that we pay. I attached a spreadsheet after this presentation, and I'll go over how we recalculated the percentage that the city should pay and the percentage that the adjacent property owners is above and beyond. So like I said, the city pays about 46.58% of the area splits for streets and alleys. The property owners pay the difference, which is about 53.4%. The parking lot pays for 100%, so it's of the invoiced amount, we take 35% of that, which is attributed to parking lots. Our parking lot fund pays for 100% of that. Sidewalks, like I said, property owners pay for 100% of that. So basically, of that 53.42% that we attribute to private properties, which is what we consider the benefit from the downtown district of getting snow removed faster, we base it on a front foot basis. So obviously businesses with larger front feet have a larger assessment because they have more area that's adjacent to their building. So there's 3,260 front feet of private property within the district, and so that gets converted into a front footage assessment rate. The city does pay its share of front footage assessment rates for front footage on city-owned parking lots. For example, the Laurel Street lot has some front footage. We pay our share of that assessment based on the frontage that we have as a city. Like I said before, the rates are based on what it would cost for the city to remove snow compared to what it would cost or what it does cost a contractor. So that's how the calculation was performed back then, and that's how we tried to recreate that calculation to see if the numbers that were then calculated are equivalent to what we feel it would take us right now to remove it. Just as a general note, this is all based on level of service. So right now, the contractor, when we call him in, he gets to downtown about 3 a.m., windrows the snow up within all those streets, and typically has the snow removed that next morning by between 9 and noon. Our forces, as you've seen, we do start in the downtown commercial district. We plow everything to the center to get all the streets opened up. And then, we do schools and the downtown residential districts first on our snow routes, and then we move out into the residential neighborhoods. So that snow that sits in the middle of the road for, depending on the snow event, it sits in the middle of the road anywhere from 24 hours. Sometimes we hit it the same day if it's a smaller snow event to pick it up. Other times it could be 24 to 48 hours depending on how much snow there is. So really, the downtown businesses and why the district was set up is they were paying for an increased level of service that the city alone could not provide because of the time constraints of having to plow so much more streets. The downtown wanted a little higher level of service and get the snow removed faster. This table right here gives you a snapshot of how the costs break out based on the last slide. So you can see, for example, this last year, 2020 to 2021, we had 37 inches of invoiced snow removal. The street and sewer fund, which is our city street department, pays $16,800 of that. Our parking lot pays $21,500 of that. And then we assess the private properties approximately $24,000 of that. And Lois is here. So for that total amount of $62,500. That was the total invoiced amount. Any questions on the snow removal district or?
So I just want a quick question. When this was first made in 1990, it wasn't very specific about what the city was going to cover as far as the streets part. And that's what came in 1991, was they decided that we would pick up the difference of what it would be.
Correct.
So it's just been that way since 1991.
Right, and it was
No
based.
questions asked, that's just the way that it's been.
It was based on the calculations performed in 91, and at the end of this, I'll go through the spreadsheet that we did to try to equate what it would cost today and what it costs right now for our contract to remove snow, and what we feel it would cost us to remove it at that decreased level of service.
Okay.
Getting onto the special services, like I said, created to help pay for the cost of downtown landscaping, maintenance, and garbage pickup. Like I said, the city historically hired a landscaping and maintenance contractor to perform all the duties. More recently, we hired a downtown maintenance summer employee. Here's the historical costs of the downtown district. You can see it basically hovers right around between 10 and 15,000, depending on the year. We were getting pretty high in 2018, 2019. That's where we implemented our own downtown maintenance employee. So you're looking at, the assessment rate per foot, has hovered between $4 and $5 since that inception back in 2010. So like I said before, there might be some interest from some owners to change the way we've done things. I've kind of explained some of the pitfalls. Right now, our snow removal operations are geared towards having this service downtown. The downtown, if we were to perform, we could perform the downtown snow removal under the caveat that not only the sidewalks would not get done anymore. That's one pitfall that I think is a benefit to the downtown. A lot of complaints that we receive are, we come in really early and plow all the snow to the center of the street. And then a property owner or a business owner gets there at 8 in the morning, shovels his sidewalk off the curb, and then people are parking in snow all day. And then we have to reinstitute parking restrictions to get all the cars off the streets the next morning to re-windrow the snow and pick it up. We still get some complaints in those 2 to 3 inch snow events where we do push it off to the side. We do get some complaints in our office about snow humps next to the curb. It's a minor thing. It's just a little more trying to figure out how to institute parking restrictions downtown to get cars out so we can windrow it up effectively. But that is one of the biggest complaints we do get is the snow windrowed to the edge of the streets. And if we don't have all the snow getting removed at once, the sidewalks, the streets, the alleys, and the parking lots, that's going to become more of an issue, not only with parking restrictions, but with snow getting left over downtown. The maintenance and beautification of downtown, I know we've gotten some good comments and good feedback about how it looked this year. Obviously, if we were to make changes to that, whether reducing the level of service or increasing it, that's up to the council and the downtown businesses, as that's treated 100% of their cost. One of the pitfalls is the snow removal is treated like the rest of the commercial and residential districts, which would mean that whole, the snow wouldn't get picked up for upwards of 12 to 24 to sometimes 48 hours after a snow event. So people are having to drive around those snow piles for extended amounts of time, like you do on the other commercial areas around the downtown on typical events. The level of service downtown decreases, and also it pushes more burden on our snow removal staff, and so that would also decrease the level of service to the whole community. And just the need to change the citywide snow removal practices to fit the downtown in. It's a small area, but it's also a very intricate plowing area that our staff, we're used to bump outs and things like that, but it takes more time. The alleys downtown, alleys are considered our last priority. So we do our streets, we get our streets opened up. Every residential street, commercial street gets opened up. And then we move on to the alleyways. And so those alleys would stay snow covered until, based on our current policy, until we got back to them after all the other streets are plowed. Right now, the alleys are opened up by 9, 10 a.m. the next morning. Downtown businesses are able to receive their inventory, do whatever they need to do. And then the parking lots are another thing. Like I said before, we would move all that snow into big piles, leave it in the parking lot until we can make time to pick it up. Just like you see in a cul-de-sac, like you see in City Hall parking lot a lot, you'll see a big snow pile out there until we get time to pick it up. So that after that, at that meeting, we just took the opportunity to let Lois and Steve speak on behalf of their business downtown. There was 2 other business owners. They're not owner-operators, they're just business owners downtown. They spoke in favor of the service. I think Lois and Steve provide a unique perspective. Based on this information, I guess we're kind of looking for some guidance on I think I gave you guys 3 options. My PDF works here.
Yeah, you gave us 3 options. Leave the downtown special services district cost splits and services as is with no changes, or change the cost splits to some split determined by the council, or eliminate the downtown special services district in its entirety and perform the service with city staff. So I think this would be a good time for, is it Lois and Steve? Okay, if you guys want to come up and just state your name and address and just give us a few minutes time on your thoughts.
Lois Hensel with Loewe Oils and Vinegars, so we're right on.
Is that on?
It's got a green light.
It is, yeah.
Or we could talk louder. 'Cause I don't- And then Steve. And so part of the reason that we wanted to look at this is because this was an ordinance that got put into place 30 years ago and nobody's even questioned it since. And the fact that with the snow removal, we're seeing the prices increase. I think this year, from what I saw in the meeting minutes, 5%. I don't know who gets a 5% raise every single year. The 1 year, obviously, that we got hit when we first owned the building but hadn't even started the business was 50 inches of snow. So we were assessed $2,800, $600 for flowers and garbage, and then the rest for the special service of snow plowing. It affects owner-operators completely different than it does property owners. You have apartment buildings that have 30 tenants, right? The owner of that property is getting income nonstop. Owner-operators don't necessarily have that income in order to pay these assessments. And so on the snow plowing aspect, if we're being assessed strictly for special services, because outside of having somebody come in and maybe give it preferential treatment, the city would be responsible to plow its own streets. when it goes into the garbage and the flowers, so I've got businesses in other cities. I've got a business in Monticello. I've got a business in, had storefront in Bemidji, and now I rent up there. But I actually had business in Bemidji. I've got business in Walker. So they've never assessed property owners for city garbage. I'm not creating the garbage. The public is. And so it would be the city's responsibility to pay for public garbage. Regarding the flowers, yeah, some of the other cities have flowers. They're gorgeous. But the cities have community people take care of it. It's not a city expense. The city doesn't go in and plant those flowers. They have community groups. There's a community alliance, or there's a 4-H group, or there's Boy Scouts or Girl Scouts, or if the high school is still requiring community service. That's who they have coming in to plant the flowers, water the flowers, et cetera, do these extra things. I get it that there were additional business owners that were here and said, you know what, we like the looks of it. I actually asked 2 of my customers in the last 2 weeks, I said, what do you think of the flowers? And they're like, what? I said, what did you think of the flowers downtown? Did it bring you downtown to shop? I said, well, no, we didn't really even notice them. So it kind of got told to us or mentioned to us that the beautification of downtown is what's bringing us business, et cetera. And I don't know if that's truly the case. I feel everybody benefits from this. Not only the city in taking pride in its own city, but every person that drives through there, every person that comes down there to shop, every person that works. So it's not necessarily a benefit to just property owners. And if it's a cost that continues to be assessed, then possibly we look at assessing every business owner, not property owner. Because then you...
Or business.
Yes, every business that's down here. Or, I don't know. I mean, do you look at the apartment buildings and go, how many people do you have renting? Now we're going to separate that expense individually there. Just some options. Like I said, nobody's looked at this for 30 years, probably because the majority of the buildings down here being assessed are investments. Most of those people don't have a business here. Most of those people don't even live here. They're just sitting back, owning the building, and getting rent income. Thoughts,
No,
additions?
we're asking you, and Paul's been incredible for it.
Yeah.
Open up, look at it from 30 years ago. This was a wild town of bars, was one of the issues. The heroin in the other streets and the other locations we have and we visited, you put it in the center, yes, and then it takes time to get rid of it. We're asking that, look at the costs. Is it just directly at us? I don't know, or the alley. I mean, we have the surrounding, we bought a building with 3 sides that are getting hit, we're getting hit on 3 sides. We don't have a loading dock rent, I mean, we do, but we're getting hit. I understand, I wasn't planning zoning for 10 years. I understand everything. But we want you to relook at the costs. It's gotta be looked at. Some of the cities, I haven't found one yet that charges back, especially almost 50%. That's, to me, is just way out of this. It should be, we're asking, the city of Brainerd's asking to bring everybody in, not just at us too. We've got beautiful parks here, we got a river, we got an incredible school, high school going on here for sporting events, restaurants coming in, trying to get in. We need to develop and not just hit, we feel the costs are more broader to the city, not just hitting us.
And so we were watching this and listening on the drive down from Walker, so apologies for sneaking in here late. But if I saw what I think I did, so the parking lots and the alleys are also part of this assessment to us, and it's like, So we're paying, did I understand
not the
that?
parking
So
lot.
none
No,
of
you
it
said-
The
is?
parking lots are not
heard
included.
you.
They're
But the
100% the
alleys
city
are.
cost.
Right.
The alleys
The road.
are because the snow gets completely removed from the alleys, so it is
Yeah,
part
no,
of
that
that
makes,
cost.
that makes sense, but the parking lots
Okay.
are taken out.
So do the alleys then,
They're not front footage based.
okay,
Everyone contributes to the alley
Okay.
snow removal.
Okay.
You don't, the front footage on your alley does not count.
Okay.
It's just your two sides on
Okay.
the Laurel and the 7th Street side.
The 7th Street side, but it's just something that's 30 years old, we would like the new generation to start looking at. That we need to reassess. Again, some of the things like, you know, we said, I understand, but the other communities even, we're from St. Michael, and you didn't charge, and we're just 4 blocks.
I've not
we're just
found a
little area.
city that
It's-
actually charges for garbage and flowers. I just haven't, other than Brainerd. And so that was kind of like, well, whose garbage is it? Because I did ask when I got the assessment, I'm like, cool, I don't have to pay separate garbage then. I can just take all my garbage from my store and stick in there? No, you can't. That's not what it's for. Then why am I paying for it? Because I'm paying for garbage removal elsewhere. You know what I mean? And it's like, I'm not sure, obviously, I'm sure none of you were here when the ordinance was made. So we don't know what the thinking was behind it, of why they would think that public garbage should now be paid for
Well, I was 4,
by
so don't blame
building
me.
owners.
No, we're,
No, I think you guys bring up some good points.
No, but that's what I'm
we just want
saying.
discussion, we think
Yeah,
it needs
so-
to be relooked at.
And maybe there is another option, you know, since he was on the board and stuff, he knows. He goes, it's pretty hard once you put an ordinance in place, or once some of these expenses are assessed elsewhere, it's hard to turn that over and go, okay, yeah, you know what, that is our responsibility, we're gonna pay for it. But,
Yeah, so I think I just want to make sure I'm understanding. So really, essentially, you're saying that the current formula disproportionately affects owner operators more than just a business who's renting or even renters.
right,
It puts more of a burden on folks like you, owners.
right.
I think I can answer that because it goes on your taxes at the end of the year, correct? So
On top of that.
for what you guys could do, if you had multiple tenants, you could split that cost up between them. You guys aren't in that situation. So
No.
some of them
We
are.
That's
don't
what is
receive
going
rent
on.
at all.
Yeah, so you guys are in a unique
We have no
spot.
income other than,
Us.
I will say, when I think of, we're running a little short on time here, but
No, we understand, yes.
when I think of the special service district, I think of snow removal. I think snow removal it is, like Paul said, it's a tough area to plow. There's nowhere to push it, it's gotta be taken out, and it's gotta be done more quickly than a lot of other areas in town. And a lot of those other areas have their own parking lots, so like us at Lakes Chiropractic, we pay somebody to plow the parking lot, and it's expensive.
Understandable.
And you guys are definitely in a unique spot. But those sidewalks need to be taken care of one way or another. But when I look at the other side of it, and when you think about the summer stuff, the gardening, the flowers and things like that, to my understanding, that's essentially a boulevard, which should fall under the park board. But maybe I'm wrong.
We understand it is nice, it's beautiful. Again, the city of Anoka, the sad thing that he's gotta deal with is he's gotta send a truck around in the pump. Anoka, when they did their sidewalks, they threw irrigation through all their light posts. It's pretty cool, but they invested, which is too late now over here, we understand that. But there's a lot of costs in doing that, and we understand that.
Right.
Ed, and like I said in the comments, it was true, Ed's out there 2 or 3 times a week, so are we. Taking care
Right.
of it, we're watering, and I'm trying to get a spigot for him, but he's fighting me over that, but
Yeah.
that's here nor there, but, it's,
I think you guys definitely have brought up some good points. I'd like
We
to
want
hear
you to
more
open
from.
it up and think about
Yeah, I'd like to hear more from some of the other owners too and see where they're sitting on that. Nobody's gonna be in the same situation as you guys, but you guys are all sharing.
we've tried, and again,
so we did notify
we thought,
as many building owners as we could, and we walked around and even said to the people that are renting, please get this to your building owner prior to the first meeting. And I had a couple people that are owners down here that are like, yeah, they were upset everything, but couldn't find the time to show up.
Yeah.
So, and I apologize to Paul, because at that
We
point,
thought he'd have a crowd full, you know.
I
Well,
felt bad that we had
Yeah.
basically wasted their time because of all the people that were gonna show up and didn't, so,
You can't help that. But
yeah.
I think just for time's sake, I don't know if we're gonna solve the issue in one meeting tonight, but I think
I
it's,
don't want you to.
I think it's smart to bring it up and look at it, maybe see if we can make things more efficient one way or another, while still having as good of services as we have. I don't want the level of service to change.
Correct, and that's what we're asking. There's a percentage I really feel is a little
Sure.
Well,
and I
yeah,
think that would help out a lot, so.
but like, two of the towns that we are in, Bemidji and Walker, that's what they do. You know, they have a small downtown area.
Yep.
And they strictly plow to the middle, and it might be the next day, it might be 2 days. The residents are used to it. They're still able to drive through, and when the snow gets removed, it gets removed. So, I mean, does the benefit of having that snow removed 5 hours earlier or 10 hours earlier outweigh the expense? So
That's what
those
we'll
are
have to
some
figure
things
out.
to consider.
Okay. We're gonna have to move on. If you guys have more discussion, comments,
Yeah, I would say my comment would be is before we do any changes, I'd like to hear from more business owners. The kind of devil's advocate part of me says if they're not willing to come here, they must not have too big of a problem with the status quo. And since it's, you know,
We
these,
brought that up last time that I
Right.
said, if
So-
we're the only
so-
two fighting David
Right,
and
yeah.
Goliath here, this is where.
Right.
But we want you to know about it and
Right,
please,
right.
as government, yes, please look
Okay.
at it. And I think you're gonna say, hey,
You're right.
this might.
So what I would direct staff for anything is to make sure that we get word out and see what the other people affected want to do, what their opinion is, and go from there.
I just wanted to point out real quick before we leave the item. So what you see up on the screen here is our best calculation we can do in today's dollars. So we have equipment rates and we have personnel rates. What we did was we took what it costs us right now to remove snow in what we consider the 32 block central business district. This is all the areas we plow to the middle and pick it up later. So you can see all of our equipment and our rates, and we figure it's about $180 a block. That's our cost. That's based on our regular rates and our overtime rates on a typical snow event, a 4-inch snow event. We took the last year's cost of our downtown snow removal contractor and converted it into a per block rate. It's about $450 per block. And then we took our best stab at what it would take us to plow the streets to the middle, realizing that the alleys would be a little different, but taking and plowing all the streets to the middle on overtime because we're there at 3 or 4 in the morning. And it equates to about $209 a block. So by the current formula, that's like 46%. The numbers come out pretty equivalently. So you look at that $209 or $210 per block compared to the $450, it's right around that 45%. So what it would take us is about 45% of the cost it takes the contractor. So those numbers we feel as staff are still fairly accurate to what the percentage splits have been historically, because our costs, just like their costs, go up on an annual basis, based on our salaries, equipment costs, equipment costs go up, maintenance goes up. So all those costs are continually going up and at a pretty equivalent rate to a contractor, just because it's a very similar type of work we're doing. And so really those costs have stayed pretty, and this is our best shot at it. Obviously, if we have a 10-inch snow event, they might get way skewed differently because we might not be able to do it as efficiently, but this is our best guess at a 4-inch snowfall. An hour on overtime, about $210 a block, compared to the quote that we pay the contractor at about $450 a block. So that's about 46%.
okay.
So we reran the numbers and that's what we came up with. But like I said, it's really on your guys' decision. If you want to change anything at all, I would say you have 3 options. You either eliminate it, you change the splits, or you don't do anything.
Okay. I think before we change anything at all, we're gonna need to.
We can bring it back to the
We're
next
need-
meeting.
We're gonna need to
and try
get more
do a-
input.
Yeah.
Give us a little time to think it over and
Yep.
see if we can come up with anything creative, but,
We did, before the meeting we had with Lois and a couple of the other downtown, but we sent an email to the DDBC, which is a good resource for us, the Downtown Business Coalition. They brought it up at their meeting, I believe, and I don't know what maybe we attend one of those and see what their thoughts or feelings are, so.
okay. Okay, so I don't think we really require a motion on this one today. But we can
Bring it back in the next meeting.
bring it back at the next meeting, yeah.
Can I just address what you said?
Yep.
I also went to one of those meetings. There wasn't anybody there other than us, that are owner-operators.
Yep, well, that is
So-
what it is, I mean,
Yep.
but
They
that's the
can't
majority of
hear
the
you online
downtown
when you said
businesses
that.
that are represented. and
What we'll
that's-
try to do is invite those business owners, invite any other owner operators that are around downtown. Hopefully they can show up and we can get more input on it, but, okay? All right,
Thank you.
thanks, guys. All right, we'll move on to the final item, if I can find it here. Approval of downtown snow removal bids. And Paul, go ahead and take us through this.
All right, so we solicited bids to 5 contractors. Our local excavators are the ones we typically solicit to. We also advertised this in the paper for our downtown snow removal services. We figured this was a good time to review this. You know, obviously, if we're not gonna be changing anything at this point, you know, we still feel like there needs to be a lot of discussion around the whole downtown services. If we're gonna continue them, obviously, we still have to award a contractor. You can see the bid that came in was from our normal bidder, Tom's Backhoe. The 2021, 2022 bid came in about 5,622 for each snow event, each 4-inch snow event, with 1,577 for each additional inch after that 4 inches for streets, alleys, and parking lots. And then the sidewalks came in at $1,302.73 for the 4-inch, and an additional $275 for each additional inch after that. This contractor has performed very well for us, very responsive, gets things done in a timely manner downtown. Obviously, with the discussion we just had, if we want to continue the service this year, you know, I would recommend awarding this still and making sure we have someone while we have these conversations. Obviously, the assessments that would come into play wouldn't happen until next year anyways, so this time next year. So we have a lot of time to figure that out yet. That bid does represent about a 5% increase over last year's submitted bid, which has been pretty consistent. So we're really recommending that we award that service to Tom's Backhoe for the downtown snow removal services.
If we were to approve it and any changes are made, say next meeting or somewhere along the line, would this be locked into a contract already with this approval? Or could
There's
we
nothing
change
in
things?
the specifications that say we have to call him in for a 4-inch snow event, so I mean, we could award it and then he's available on an on-call basis, basically. So we have him under contract to come in when we ask him to, but that doesn't mean we have to call him in. So
Okay.
it's something that we can have in our back pocket still. Like I said, there's a lot of changes that would have to take place to completely get rid of a downtown contractor, and it would take more than a month,
Right.
I think, to do that, both with plow routes, maintenance guys, schedules, do they start earlier? What does that look like from our maintenance standpoint? So I think having this in our back pocket still, if there are changes made, great, you know, if it benefits everyone, but I still, you know, feel very comfortable having this in our back pocket
ahead, Dave.
as we make those changes.
We have a motion?
Move to approve.
Second.
Any more discussion? We can end this meeting before 7. Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes. Now looking for a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?